My wife cheated on me with our neighbor, then secretly funneled $250, $0 of our joint savings into her brother's shady business. Now she's suing me for half the house, claiming I orchestrated the whole betrayal to keep her silent. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story about betrayal like this, but here we are. It all started with a gut feeling, honestly. You know that sinking sensation you get when something just doesn't sit right? Well, that's how I felt for months. My wife, Emily, was acting weird, canceling plans at the last minute, spending more time on her phone than usual, and lying about where she was going. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was overthinking it. But then, little things started to add up. It was a typical Saturday afternoon when I decided to do some cleaning. I wasn't expecting much, but I figured I'd tidy up the garage a bit. As I moved some boxes, I found a forgotten receipt tucked behind a box of old tools. It was from a hotel downtown, and the date was just a week ago. That wasn't unusual, except I looked closer and saw that it was paid for with her credit card. I knew she had her own account, so why was she paying for a hotel with our shared card? Something was off. That same day, I noticed her phone kept buzzing. She was unusually secretive about it, always pocketing it quickly, turning away when I approached. She'd get defensive if I asked about her texts or calls, claiming it was just her sister or some work thing. But I knew better. The way she was acting, it wasn't just work. It was something she didn't want me to see. Then came the night I caught her. I was home early from work, something I rarely did, and I decided to check her phone. I know, that's invasive, but I was desperate. I went into her messages and saw a conversation with someone named Jake. The tone was flirty, and the stuff they were saying, it wasn't just friendly. It was sex talk, explicit and relentless. I felt my stomach drop. I couldn't believe it, my wife Emily cheating on me with our neighbor. I confronted her immediately. I didn't even try to hide my anger, I just showed her the messages, and her face twisted into a sneer. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're paranoid, Jake's just a friend and you're reading too much into it." She looked so calm, so dismissive, like she thought I was overreacting. But I knew better. I had proof, and I wasn't going to let her brush it off. The worst part, she lied. She denied everything at first, then spun some story about how Jake was just a work friend, and I was reading too much into innocent conversations. She called me paranoid, insecure, and said I was imagining things because I was stressed about work. But I knew the truth. I saw the messages. I saw the hotel receipt. I saw her face when she thought I wasn't looking. The betrayal hit me hard, and it wasn't just about the affair. It was about trust, something I thought we had, something I thought she cared about. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My mind was racing. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me with Jake, our neighbor, the guy who lives just down the street? And that wasn't all. As I started digging into her finances, I uncovered something even more shocking. She secretly funneled $250, $0 of our joint savings into her brother's shady business. I didn't even know she was capable of that level of deception. It was like my entire life had been turned upside down in one day. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was not only cheating on me but also stealing from us. And the worst part, she was planning to sue me for half the house, claiming I orchestrated everything to keep her silent. She's a master manipulator, and I was starting to realize I'd been played from the beginning. I don't know what to do now. I feel like I've been hit by a truck, and every time I think I've processed one betrayal, another one hits me. I'm angry, I'm hurt, and I'm trying to figure out how to move forward. But one thing's clear, this is just about infidelity anymore. It's about trust, money, and a woman who's willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get what she wants. If anyone's been through something similar, I could really use some advice. I feel lost. After I found out about the affair and the money, I felt like my world was collapsing. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. All I could do was think about how I was so blindsided, how she had been lying to my face for months. Emily was always bitchy, but I never thought she'd go this far, cheating, stealing, lying so blatantly. It was like I was living with a stranger. Honestly, I started questioning everything about our marriage about her. How long had she been planning this? Was I just some fool she was using to get what she wanted? I decided I had to confront her again, but this time I wanted to be prepared. I sat her down in the living room. Her face was defiant, like she knew she had the upper hand. I told her I knew about Jake, about the hotel, about the money she'd siphoned off. Her eyes widened for a second, then she quickly recovered her bitchy attitude. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You're just jealous. I don't know what you're talking about." She spun some story about how I was paranoid, how I was accusing her of things that weren't true, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I had proof and I was ready to use it. Her reaction was classic. She started crying, but not because she was sorry, she was angry. She called me controlling, insecure, and said I was trying to ruin her. That's when she started spinning her lies about how Jake is just a friend, and I was making everything up. She said I was jealous because I knew she was more successful than me, that I was threatened by her independence. That was bullshit. I knew her better than that. I knew her manipulative ways. She was trying to make me doubt myself, but I wasn't falling for it. Meanwhile, I was watching her carefully. I knew she was planning something, probably to spin the story in her favor and save her ass. But I also knew I had the receipts, texts, bank statements, the hotel bill. I decided I needed to get a lawyer because this was turning into something much bigger than just an affair. She'd already started talking about suing me for half the house, claiming I'd orchestrated everything to keep her quiet. It was a classic move, try to turn the tables, make me look like the villain. But I wasn't going to let her do that. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how deep her deception went. Not only was she cheating on me, but she had also been secretly funneling money to her brother's shady business. I found out she transferred $250,000 into some kind of sideline operation he was running. I didn't even know she was capable of that level of corruption. It was like she had been living a double life, and I was just now discovering the truth. I felt completely betrayed. I'd trusted her with everything, our savings, our future, and she'd been using that trust to manipulate and steal from us. I couldn't believe how cold and calculated she'd been. She was always bitchy, yes, but I never thought she was capable of this kind of betrayal. I started to feel a mix of rage and sadness. Rage that she'd hurt me so badly, and sadness because I still loved her, even if I knew I shouldn't. That night, I stayed up late going through everything I'd uncovered. I felt like I was unraveling a conspiracy, and I knew I had to act fast before she could spin her lies further or destroy the evidence. I contacted a lawyer first thing in the morning. I also started thinking about how to protect myself legally, especially with her threatening to sue for half the house. I wasn't just going to roll over and let her take everything, especially after what she'd done. I also decided I needed to confront her one more time, this time with the lawyer present. I wanted her to know I wasn't backing down. I wanted her to understand that I had proof of her cheating, her fraud, and her betrayal. I didn't want her to manipulate her way out of this. I was done being the naive husband who believed everything she said. I was ready to fight for what was rightfully mine, and I was going to make sure she paid for what she did. But even as I planned my next move, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. There was so much more to uncover, and I knew I'd have to be prepared for her lies, her manipulations, and whatever else she threw my way. The betrayal had cut deep, but I was determined to get to the bottom of it, no matter what. The day I brought my lawyer into the mess was a turning point. Emily saw him coming into the house, and her bitchy smirk immediately turned into something more nervous, like she knew she was cornered. I didn't hold back. I laid out everything I'd found. The texts with Jake, the hotel receipt, the bank transfers, and the fact that she'd secretly funneled $250, $0 into her brother's shady business. I wanted her to realize I wasn't playing around anymore. My lawyer, a sharp guy named Mark, listened carefully, took notes, and then looked at Emily with a calm but firm expression. "Mrs. Johnson," he said, "we have substantial evidence of misconduct, fraud, and infidelity. You're not just facing a divorce. There's potential criminal activity involved with the money transfer. We need to proceed carefully, but I want you to understand, the truth is coming out, and it's not In your favor." Emily's eyes flickered with a mix of anger and panic. She tried to deny everything again, claiming she was just helping her brother, that the money was a loan, that she'd never do anything illegal. But I knew better. I'd seen the bank statements myself. The transfers were not small loans. They were large, structured, and hidden from me. I realized she'd been planning this for a while, and I was just catching up. I also learned that she'd been secretly working with her brother for months, long before I even suspected anything. The house, the savings, everything we had was at risk now, and she was trying to spin her lies, but it was clear she was losing her grip. Over the next few days, I watched her try to act like everything was fine, but behind closed doors, she was frantic. She started throwing tantrums, accusing me of betrayal, claiming I was trying to ruin her life just because I found out about her affair. That's when I realized her entire narrative was built on lies. She was trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage, to make herself look like the victim. It was classic Emily, bitchy, cunning, and willing to do anything to save herself. Meanwhile, I kept digging. I hired a forensic accountant to trace the money and uncover what she'd been hiding. Turns out, the $250, $0 she transferred into her brother's business was just the tip of the iceberg. There were multiple other transactions, some of them linked to offshore accounts, all designed to hide her involvement. I also discovered that Jake, the neighbor, was just a pawn. She'd been sleeping with him to keep him quiet, probably threatening him with exposure if he stepped out of line. The more I learned, the angrier I got. I started to see the full picture. Emily wasn't just a cheating wife. She was a con artist, a thief, and a manipulator. I couldn't believe I'd been living with this person for years. My trust was shattered, and I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies. One night, I sat her down again. I told her I knew everything about Jake, the hotel, the money, her brother's shady dealings. I told her I was done playing her game. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to let her steal everything, not just from me but from our future. I told her I had lawyers, investigators, and enough evidence to put her behind bars if I wanted. Her bitchy mask cracked for a moment, and I saw genuine fear in her eyes. But then she recovered her composure and started yelling, calling me paranoid, accusing me of trying to ruin her. That's when I realized she was planning her next move, probably to sue me for half the house, claim I was trying to control her, and spin her lies to the courts. She thought she could manipulate her way out of this mess, but I was done being naive. I knew her tricks now. I knew her lies, and I was prepared to fight. I started documenting everything, every email, every bank statement, every message. I told my lawyer I wanted to file for divorce, but I also wanted to protect myself financially. If she was going to try to take half the house, I'd make sure I had all my bases covered. I wasn't just fighting for my money, I was fighting for my dignity, my sanity, and my future. Honestly, I've never felt so betrayed in my life. It's one thing to find out your wife is cheating. It's another to realize she's been secretly stealing from you and working with your neighbor to cover her tracks. The emotional roller coaster has been brutal. One minute I'm furious, the next I'm just numb. I keep asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see the lies and the manipulations. But I guess everyone's good at hiding their true selves until they're backed into a corner. Now I'm just waiting for the next chapter, what she'll do next, how the courts will see this, and how I can finally start putting this nightmare behind me. If anyone's been through a similar situation, where your wife's betrayal went way beyond just sex, I could really use some advice. I don't know how to rebuild after this, but I know I can't let her get away with it. Not without a fight. The pressure has been relentless. After I brought the lawyer in and laid everything out, Emily's behavior shifted even more. She became frantic, throwing tantrums at the slightest provocation. Her bitchy attitude turned into outright hostility. She's been trying to spin her lies harder, claiming I'm just jealous and insecure, that I'm making up stories. Because I'm afraid of losing control. She's always been good at twisting words, but now she's reaching new lows. I catch her glaring at me with pure hatred when she thinks I'm not looking, and she's been doing everything she can to undermine me publicly. One day, she came home with a new story. She said she'd been talking to her lawyer and that she was thinking about countersuing me for defamation and emotional distress. She claimed I was trying to ruin her reputation and that I'd fabricated the whole affair to get her out of the house. I just shook my head. I knew her game. She's always been a master manipulator, and now she's trying to turn the tables to protect herself. But I have the evidence. I have the texts, the bank statements, the hotel bill. I know she's lying, and I'm ready to fight back. Her manipulations got worse when she started playing the victim. She'd cry, scream, and accuse me of controlling her, of trying to keep her quiet because I'm insecure. She said she was doing everything for us, that she was helping her brother, and that I was just a jealous husband trying to ruin her life. I listened to her spew that bullshit and felt a mix of anger and pity. I knew she was lying, but it still hurt. How could someone I loved so much turn into this person? How could she be so bitchy, so calculating? It's like she's trying to rewrite history, to make herself look innocent while I'm the villain. Meanwhile, I kept digging into her financials. I hired a private investigator to get a clearer picture of her secret dealings. Turns out, she'd been funneling money into her brother's shady business for over a year. The $250, $0 I found transferred into offshore accounts was just the beginning. There were other transfers, small, hidden, unaccounted for. She'd been laundering money, and I was just now discovering the full extent. It's mind-blowing how deep her web of lies went. She was not only cheating on me but also stealing from us and covering her tracks with lies and deception. I started to feel like I was in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every day I was faced with more evidence, more reasons to be furious. I thought I knew my wife, but now I see her for what she really is: an opportunist, a liar, a thief. I kept asking myself how I missed all of it, how I was so blind. But deep down, I knew I'd been played from the beginning. She knew exactly how to manipulate me, how to keep me in the dark. I've been going through a lot of emotional turmoil. I feel betrayed, angry, and exhausted. Some nights I just lie awake, replaying everything in my head: her lies, the affair, the money, the betrayal. I realize I've been holding on to hope that she'd come clean, that she'd admit everything and take responsibility. But that's not her style. She's still trying to manipulate the situation, still trying to paint herself as the victim. I don't trust her anymore, and honestly, I don't think I ever will. I talked to my sister about all this, and she told me to keep my head clear, to document everything, and to make sure I protect myself legally. She said I shouldn't let Emily's lies and manipulations push me into making rash decisions. That's easier said than done, but I know she's right. I've also started thinking about my future, whether I should fight for the house or just walk away. Honestly, I don't know what's worse: losing everything or staying with someone who's betrayed me so profoundly. What's really messing with my head is the fact that I still love her. Despite everything, I keep asking myself if there's any part of her that's still genuine. But the more I see her bitchy, manipulative side, the more I realize she's not the woman I fell in love with. She's someone else entirely, someone who's willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get what she wants. And I don't know if I can ever trust her again. Right now, I'm just trying to stay grounded. I've hired a good lawyer, and I'm gathering all the evidence I need to protect myself. I know this isn't going to be easy, and I'm bracing myself for whatever comes next. I never thought I'd be in this situation, heartbroken, betrayed, and fighting to keep what's mine. But I'm not giving up. Not yet. I have to believe there's a way out of this mess, even if it's hard to see it right now. The legal battle has become a full-blown war, and I've never felt more exhausted in my life. Emily's desperation is obvious. She's been throwing everything she has at me, trying to turn public opinion against me, claiming I'm some controlling, paranoid husband who's just out to ruin her. She's hired her own lawyer now, and I can tell she's trying to intimidate me into backing down. But I refuse to be silenced. I have the evidence, and I'm prepared to fight dirty if I have to. One morning, I woke up to a new twist. She filed a lawsuit claiming I orchestrated everything to keep her quiet about the affair, that I manipulated her into giving me control of the house, and that I was trying to silence her. She's claiming I forced her into signing documents, that I threatened her, and that I somehow coerced her into giving up her rights. Honestly, I couldn't believe the audacity. It was classic Emily, bitchy, manipulative, and full of lies. She's trying to spin a story where she's the victim and I'm the villain. But I have the proof of her affair, her secret money transfers, and her lies. The worst part is she's also accusing me of financial abuse, claiming I forced her to funnel money into her brother's shady business. She's trying to paint me as some controlling husband who's been secretly scheming from the start. I'm furious. I've been transparent, honest, and trying to do what's right. Meanwhile, she's been sneaking around, lying, stealing, and now trying to turn the tables on me. It's like she's trying to rewrite history and save herself at any cost. I've been working closely with my lawyer, Mark. We've been preparing a counterclaim, showing her pattern of deception, the evidence of her affair, and the illegal money transfers. I want her to realize that I'm not backing down, that I have everything documented. I also started gathering witnesses, neighbors, friends, anyone who can testify to her manipulative behavior and her lies. I want the court to see her for what she really is, a liar and a thief. Emotionally, I'm drained. Every day feels like a battle. I go from feeling angry to hopeless, then back to determined. I still love her, but I can't ignore the fact that she's betrayed me on every level. And it's not just about the affair or the money anymore. It's about trust, respect, and the future I thought we had. I keep asking myself how I got here, how someone I loved so much could turn into this person. So bitchy, so deceitful, so willing to ruin everything we built together. I've also started to realize that I need to prioritize myself. This isn't just about winning a legal case, it's about reclaiming my life. I've been talking to a therapist, trying to process everything, how deeply I've been hurt, how betrayed I feel, and whether I can ever rebuild trust. The truth is, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'll ever look at her the same way again. But I do know I deserve peace, stability, and honesty. The biggest challenge now is deciding what I want long term. Do I fight for the house, knowing she's willing to lie and manipulate her way into keeping it? Or do I walk away, cut my losses, and start fresh? Part of me still hopes she'll come clean, admit her wrongdoings, and try to make amends. But the other part knows that's unlikely. She's always been stubborn, bitchy, and manipulative. And if I stay in this fight, I have to be prepared for her next move. More lies, more deception, more games. For anyone reading this, just know that betrayal cuts deep. It's not just about the cheating, it's about the invasion of your trust, your sense of security, and your future. I've learned that you have to be relentless in protecting yourself. Document everything, get legal help, and don't let anyone manipulate you into giving up what's rightfully yours. I've also learned that sometimes love isn't enough. When someone shows you their true colors, especially a bitchy, manipulative side, you have to decide if you're willing to accept that or if it's time to walk away. Right now, I'm still fighting. I don't know how this will end, but I do know I'm not going down without a fight. I've got too much at stake, my sanity, my future, and the truth. I just hope that in the end, justice will prevail and I can finally start healing from this nightmare. The court date finally came, and I have to admit, I was a nervous wreck. All the evidence I'd collected, texts, bank statements, hotel receipts, witness testimonies, was laid out clearly. Emily's accusations of me orchestrating everything felt flimsy compared to the mountain of proof I had. When the judge looked over everything, I saw her face twist into a mix of frustration and anger, but I knew the truth was on my side. Emily's lawyer tried to spin her narrative, claiming she was a victim of my controlling ways, that I manipulated her into giving up the house. She sat there, bitchy and defiant, trying to hold her composure as she denied everything. But her lies unraveled quickly. The judge wasn't convinced by her manipulative tactics. The evidence of her affair with Jake, the secret money transfers, her attempts to hide assets, all of it painted a very different picture from her carefully crafted story. In the end, the court ruled in my favor on most counts. I was awarded full custody of the house, and her claims for half were dismissed. The judge also ordered her to return the money she siphoned off, along with penalties for her fraudulent transfers. Emily's face was a mix of fury and disbelief. She stormed out of the courtroom screaming accusations, but I felt a strange sense of relief, like a massive weight had finally been lifted. The aftermath was complicated. Emily moved out, furious and bitter, refusing to accept the court's decision. She tried to threaten me, saying she'd fight me in every way possible. But I was prepared. I had legal protection, and I knew I'd done everything by the book. I also started the process of rebuilding my life. I hired a financial advisor to help me manage what was left, and I took steps to secure my future, separating myself from her financial mess and making sure she couldn't manipulate me anymore. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown from this nightmare. I learned that trust is fragile, and that sometimes the people closest to you can turn out to be your worst enemies. I discovered that love isn't enough to keep a relationship afloat when betrayal and lies are involved. Most importantly, I learned that standing up for myself, even when it's difficult, is the only way to truly reclaim your life. I won't lie, this experience has left scars. There are nights I still think about what I lost, the dreams I had that will never come true with her. But I also know I've gained clarity. I see her for what she really was, a manipulative, bitchy woman who was willing to do anything to get her way. And I see myself as someone who's stronger than I thought, brave enough to face the truth and fight for what's right. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, trust me, you're not alone. It hurts, it's unfair, and it's confusing. But don't let anyone manipulate or guilt you into giving up what's yours. Gather your evidence, seek legal help, and don't be afraid to stand your ground. The truth has a way of coming out, and in the end, honesty and integrity are what truly matter. I'm finally starting to move on. It's not easy, and I know the scars will stay for a while. But I'm learning to rebuild, to trust again, and to believe that I deserve better. Maybe someday I'll find someone who values honesty and respect as much as I do. For now, I'm just grateful that I fought for myself and that I finally have some peace.